Okay, hello. My name is Sam, and I have very recently gotten into indie game development. So, um, I've just done a bunch of research. I've watched a ton of YouTube videos, and I really wanted to try and get into this and to figure out a way that someone like me, who is not a developer, who is not a 3D artist, find a way that I could actually jump in and start making a game. And I guess in all of that research and in all of that, all the YouTube videos that I've watched, I just never really felt like people were talking about this in this way. So it felt like a big eye-opening experience to kind of discover some of this, and I felt like this needs to be out there for people like me to hear. And so that's what I wanted to do here, is just talk a bit about how the barrier of entry is now so much lower and so much more possible than ever before. And you very likely can jump in and start making your own game. And I wanted to show you how I've done it. And yeah, I specifically use Claude Desktop and Unity. And those two I think are very important, and I'll explain why here in just a sec. The other thing I did want to say is that I heavily use AI. And I know that that's a sensitive topic. There's a lot of strong opinions on it, and I totally understand that. Um, the way I approach this, or the way I view it, is that um, it's now enabling someone like me to create games where I previously would have never been able to, or I would have had to, you know, learn to code and spend 1 or 2 years just figuring out a language, and then that's just enough to be like somewhat comfortable, and that's not even like an expert level type of thing. And same with like 3D art and Blender and everything. So it just feels very much more accessible than I ever thought it was right now. So yeah, that's kind of the way I approach it. Now, um, yeah, I want to show you this setup because I think it's really powerful. And so the first thing is I have just Claude desktop. I There's a lot that I can explain about what I've learned from just working with developers every day on at this AI startup. Um, but to put it pretty simply, pretty much every developer I work with, they are no longer writing their own lines of code. They're not manually typing out lines of code. What they are doing is they're prompting AI to get the output that they want. And a lot of times they're more capable because of the understanding that they have of code and how to say the right things to get what they want. Um, but there's so much that you can do just without that deep knowledge. And I think it's enough to even to get you really, really far, especially in game development, where there's a lot of known ways of approaching things within game development that the AI can figure out. So that's already huge. So something like this where I can prompt it and have some very specific workflow tools in place, which I think I'll talk. I might do a separate video just because I think that also is really helpful. And it wasn't super clear to me up front until I started diving in. So I'll probably do that. But yeah, that's the first thing. Like this is super possible now. The next thing is Unity. Um, so with Unity, they have the Unity Asset Store. So like I said, I'm not a 3D artist, but the Unity Asset Store has like pretty much anything you could think of that you could want. Specifically, there's 3D and 2D assets that you can get, um, and any style of asset. Yeah, it won't be, that really fine-tuned, um, really specific to your game asset, but it can be in the right feeling. It can be good placeholders, just enough to really get the ball rolling, which I think is huge to get you down the path where maybe you build the games well enough that you finally know you want to invest in an actual artist to make the assets for you or to tweak the ones that you have in a way that works for you. The other thing here is that the asset store doesn't just have 3D or 2D assets. You can see there's tools, there's visual effects, add-ons. So like even this right here, there's the Behavior Designer Pro 3. Um, and a lot of these tools, they come with like a UI where you can just click around, you can tweak the values, you can connect these nodes, um, things like that, so that if you're not a developer and if you're not super familiar, you can still have access to some really powerful tools that might just already do what you're looking for. And some of these are more expensive. This one's what, like $70, but like what? This anti-cheat one is, I don't know if it's good, but yeah, it's $2.25. That's crazy. Now, the last thing that I wanted to show you, and also like super, super powerful, is the MCP server for Unity. So if you're familiar with AI, then you might be familiar with MCP, which basically MCP is basically an integration. So what it does, and you can see right here, yeah, Unity MCP, it acts as a bridge, allowing AI assistants like Claude, which I use, to interact directly with your Unity editor via a local MCP, which, yeah, integration basically. And it can manage assets, control scenes, edit scripts, and automate tasks. Super, super powerful. Um, you can see they kind of have like this little example where they're prompting it to make a castle for them. And yeah, it'll just build it in Unity for you, which is really cool. The really powerful thing with this is that when you connect it with your actual workflow within like something like Claude, is that when I'm completing tasks in like having it write code, and things like that, it will actually jump into Unity. It will test the changes. If there's a bug, if there's an error, it will go back, it will fix the error, and it will then continue to iterate like that until it's good, until it feels good. Um, my flow is it will also create new tests to make sure that we don't have any issues or errors that or bugs that pop up. So yeah, it'll also just run through the tests before we're done with every task, make sure everything's clean and good, and then it'll take care of the rest for me. So um, yeah, super, super powerful. So this scene here, actually, there's some weird like shader stuff going on. But I just gave Claude an asset pack, and I told it to build this room for me. Um, and it wasn't you can see it's not like a beautiful, perfect professional scene, but you can see like it gave me, a table and some light sources and a door against the wall. And yeah, we've got some weird, rectangular shapes here, and like this like fake window thing. But it's kind of like this like good start. If you're someone like me, it's kind of nice to just like have this. It's like, oh, well, actually, I don't want this here. Like, I want to move this closer to the wall. Actually, let's move it over here. And then, I could be like, okay, actually, I want this to have a light source, so we can do that. Um, yeah, it's super powerful. So, um, yeah, I guess you can hopefully kind of see like uh, the power that is possible with um, with all of these tools combined, where you can start right now. You can do this. Unity can do 3D, can do 2D, can do isometric camera, can do a first person camera, can do third person camera. This has all been figured out and done before. So it's easy for AI to call upon the information that's already out there to then create this for you. So um, there's a lot of really interesting things that can be done um, with, like I said, the workflow and how you organize things. Um, but yeah, if you want to do it, you can do it. So yeah, anyway, thank you.